What's up, you guys? Jaden here with the Moonlight Craftsman channel. In this video, we are going to go over how to polish a joint in stainless brush tube like this. Pretty much a T-joint where you have a vertical, the grain going vertically this way and the grain going horizontally this way. Coming up. Alright guys, so this is pretty simple. I've got this one that's already welded, obviously, and I've already taken the grinder, 120 grit, and I've removed the weld. If there's any low spots in the weld, go back and fill that and make sure it's flat, no gouges. You've heard me say that in previous videos. And then, if we go back to this one that's already done, tube has this radius on the edge here. And so you can either do one of two things with this grain on top. You can make it go down to the radius, which I've done here, or you could go down to the edge of the tube, which would make it a little bit lower down here. Both are fine. I just think that this one just looks just a little bit better. So you're going to want to make just a piece of angle out of thin gauge stainless so you don't contaminate it. And this will be a guide for part of it, and slightly over break it, that way you can clamp on just one side and it's always fitting tight on the other side. So I can clamp here and still tight up against the metal right here and not sticking up. So as you can see, this is 1.5 inch tube. I've made this 1 3/8 by 1 3/8, and so it lines up right with the edge of that radius, and that'll be used as a guide for when we do this. One thing I should also say is when you make the angle, make on one side of it, notch back. If you're doing it the way I'm going to do it, where you go up to the radius, notch it back a little bit more than the radius width on one side, on both ends of one side, and that way when you put it on the vertical side, you can push it all the way up to where you need it to be. So what we'll do first is we'll put a brush on the vertical first. So put our guide on here and put a mark with a magic marker or something, and that way when we do the vertical grain, we're just going to remove that line and try not to go any higher than we need to. It doesn't, you're going to go higher obviously, and when you remove that line, then you're good. So I don't need to use the sheet metal guide at this point, just the black magic marker line. And at this point, we use our jig and we slide it up to the edge of that radius where we want our horizontal brush to go. And we'll clamp the jig on and do that. Repeat the process for the other side. So I've got the Scotch-Brite wheel on now, and we're going to go back to the verticals. We are going to use the jig this time so we don't go too far past. Before we didn't use the jig because the wheel can't really get right up to that edge with the going perpendicular to the jig. But right now we already have a grain on there, and the fibers, they can kind of get pretty close with the Scotch-Brite. And even if there's a millimeter that's still just 120 grit, you know, you're not going to be able to see that. And we're going to go back to the other side and finish this off. And obviously, going this way, you know, you can get right up close to that jig, so it's not a problem. And that's it, guys. That's all there is to it. Be sure to like and subscribe, and let me know down in the comments if you like woodworking videos, metalworking videos, DIY videos, or all of the above. Which one do you like better? Let me know down in the comments. We'll see you on the next one.